another one? Oh, they're passing it down.
We need another one or?
Oh.
If not, you can have mine.
Like, you have to.
Just one.
This one?
Come on.
Oh, it's two pieces?
Yeah.
No. I had to. It's me. It's my fault.
Thank you.
Okay.
At this time, I'd like to reconvene government operations. We are continuing with our interviews from yesterday. Madam President.
Thank you. So I know we all got an email today, we should send another copy of, I just want to go over. Initially, I did run this by Ms. Farage in terms of going with interviews. And she sent me an email that specifically said that interviews could be done in executive session. I know today's email said that we should deliberate in open session, which I'm fully in agreement with. So we're continuing to do our interviews in executive session.
Just to correct the record, is because you can do something doesn't mean.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Turner.
Thank you. And yesterday I did raise concerns and have an objection and the committee went on and moved ahead without listening to me. And we're going to address it later about having these interviews in executive sessions. The residents who applied, the 17 people or so, submitted their application and they expected a transparent process, and public interviews help to maintain trust and accountability. I think it was closed-door meetings can lead to suspicion and perception that officials are perhaps acting on a hidden agenda, and discussion about appointees' qualifications for specific policy-making roles or their general views are considered matters of public interest, not private issues. So transparency with these interviews is what the public deserves. And I still feel that way today. And as far as well as we're talking, I think you each received the letter that I had sent out, but I want to be very clear that it's not appropriate for outgoing council members to make a major appointment that will shape the direction of the next term. The voters have just made their voices heard. They chose new leadership and a new vision for our community. To move forward with this appointment now before the new council is seated would disregard that democratic decision and erode public confidence in this body. The incoming council will be the one working with the individuals selected to fill this seat. They should have a direct role in that decision. Anything less is unfair to new members and unfair to the residents who voted for change. Personally, I feel strongly that the replacement process should wait until November 2026, allowing residents themselves to make this important decision at the ballot box, as has been done at some point prior. Additionally, I would suggest considering a 5-person council. A smaller council would not only encourage more efficient discussions and balanced presentation, but would also reduce expenses for the city. A responsible and practical measure that respects our taxpayers and promotes fiscal accountability. A 5-person council would also likely lead to better representation for all our neighborhoods and residents, as more would be expected of us. This council has a responsibility to uphold the will of the voters and to ensure transparency, accountability, and fairness. I strongly urge the appointment process to be paused until the new council takes office so that this decision truly reflects the people's choice and strengthens our trust in government.
Ms. Patrick.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do you want to
No.
Thank you, Mr. Farley. I too wanted to make a statement last night that I didn't get to. Mine is not as formal as Ms. DeToro, so I think I'm just going to paraphrase here, but I feel that it's inappropriate for the outgoing council members to be choosing Mr. Mancini's replacement, especially with new council members set to join us in January. In fact, I'd prefer that we keep the seat vacant and let voters determine the replacement in the November 2026 election. At the very least, the appointment should not be happening until the new council members are seated. The meetings that were scheduled for last night and tonight were set up, I think, by by council president without checking on council members' availability, at least my availability. And I will say that I was on vacation for the last week and a half. And I had no access to my city email, I think because of the two-factor because I was out of the country. I'm not really sure, but so I didn't receive the candidate resumes until I think it was Friday evening around 5:30. And I had to cancel something else for tonight, tonight's meeting, which is, fine. But again, we had nobody that asked us, when are you available to have these meetings? And I did go back through my email. So I think I'm correct in that we weren't asked about our availability for this. I have lots of questions. There was no council discussion about what the interviews would look like. The fact that the interviews were scheduled for every 10 minutes, I thought was crazy, having much experience at interviewing candidates for job interviews. And I think last night we probably did go over 10 minutes with each person that we interviewed. So that sort of played out. My questions before last night that I didn't get to say last night was, for example, what are the questions that were going to be asked? Will all candidates be asked the same questions? Because we did not have a chance as a council to talk about process before all of a sudden we, showed up here last night and, got to start the interviews. I did say, are these interviews being held in executive session? Why are they being held in executive session? So I was definitely feeling that if I was a resident watching us, I would be asking, why the rush to get somebody in at this point, especially with no input from our constituents? So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to make those comments tonight.
Mr. Williams and Mr. Porter?
Yeah, so I'm gonna start off and address the comment message for me and saying we're not allowed to make a comment. I would say it's your responsibility to know when you can communicate discussion points. I would not say it's the responsibility of the chair. The full comments from the committee members. Motion was made, motion was seconded. The rest of the committee was conducted. Then was returned back to general conversation. No comment was being made. I imagine you were looking for a prompt. That isn't how existing.
No, I don't imagine anything.
I'm so
Correct.
Thank you. I would say in response to the comments about why this process is being taken and why it's including Ms. Porterfield and Mr. Farley, I would say it's highly irresponsible to expect an individual or individuals campaigning for elected office to understand the gravity of what it means to assume those seats. I think it is very misspoken to discount the experience that these two individuals have and to discredit their ability to communicate this process objectively. I think that is something that needs to be casted out and put aside. Sincerely, I know one of your comments was highlighting that this was the will of the people. If you're touting that the 4,200 votes fully represents the city of Schenectady, that is, I think, laughable. I tried to do the calculation myself, which was not easy, but within the county, there's about 108,000 registered voters. If you break that down to the population of the city of Schenectady, you can equate that the number of registered voters within our city is 43,000. So by comparison, that is 10%, and 10% in any respect is not the full representation of the city. I'm not discrediting the votes that were casted. I think it is a stretch to represent those as the will of the people of the city of Schenectady. We have a lot of work to do with respect to voter turnout. There's no benefits from who came out to vote, and I'm excited to know that the state is looking at aligning those elections with the general moving forward. That's a different conversation. As far as your points about having a 5-person council, unless you're going to resign, the number will be 6. So I don't know how that math is adding up. But sincerely, it is our responsibility as a current body. This conversation was initially put on the agenda of October 6th. There were no comments from either of you. I was very open with wanting to have this conducted at the conclusion of our budget process, which it was. So I appreciate Ms. Porterfield leading to have this discussion, but sincerely, we need to act as opposed to proceeding with the reduced council. I think that is not the intent of the code. We need to ensure that we're being actionable with that in mind. I don't think we need to function with reduced number of council members, but sincerely, I have no issues with how things have proceeded. Can things be better? Absolutely. But if we're going to continue to point fingers and tear processes down, we will not accomplish anything.
And I just want to reiterate, I'm reading directly from the email from Ms. Garage, which is dated November 13th. The council can do interviews in executive session based on Public Officers Law, Article 7, Section 105F. So I did reach out to her before, I get the sense that you all feel that I just do things randomly and I don't, look into it, which is absolutely not true. And I also, as I said, reached out to Ms. Garage. So that is how this decision came about. And after we go back into public session, after we go through the interviews, I'm going to share with the council the previous processes that were used by this council in terms of filling vacancies. So, so we can remove their accusations.
Ms. Barash.
Okay, I will read into the record the email that I sent today. Just for the record, as I'm sure you all know, legal review is ongoing. Things change, and what I say to you is an opinion. I can't guarantee what would happen if the city wound up sued. I can't guarantee that.
Mhm.
So I give you an opinion. You again can choose to take it. You can choose to leave it. Today, I sent you a very clear email outlining clarification so that you can make this choice having all relevant information. So you make this choice today with all relevant information. You can't point to an old email without also using this email in clarification. So if you would like, since you've read my first email, I'll read this email into the record.
I didn't read all of it, but go ahead.
Certainly. Ms. Porterfield, Mr. Farley, and Mr. Ludebaron, we have received the attached opinions of the Committee on Open Government, forwarded by Thomas Kennedy III. I am not aware of your reasoning for wanting to do these interviews in executive session, but based on ongoing legal review, we do recommend that if you continue to hold the interviews in executive session, that you at least conduct the full discussion and debate and vote in public session. Please be advised that although the black letter law may allow interviews for appointments to be in executive session, there is some conflicting authority. There are other factors here that should be considered since this is an appointment to a vacancy of a seat of an elected official rather than a manager or a civil service employee, the process for and applicants for which the public has a right to scrutinize. To be completely clear, conducting the interviews in executive session is a choice that you are making. Typically, it is better to err on the side of openness rather than to run the risk of running afoul of the open meetings law.
Okay, so a couple things I guess we need to address here. The reality is not a problem with the process, and I'll demonstrate why there's not a problem with the process, but it is a problem with the person who's bringing the process forward, which you've seen happen time and time again. If we want to talk about the will of the people, which it's rich that there's this deep level of concern all of a sudden. I mean, it was the same people who worked extremely hard to make sure that there wasn't a primary election to take place. And the reason for that is because the last time that there was a primary election is the reason why me and Council President Porterfield are in these seats. So this new appreciation for the will of the people and the democratic voice is interesting, to say the least, in time. Ms. Patrick, I understand that you're questioning why these interviews are taking place in executive session, correct? And you disagree with them taking place in executive, correct? So I will draw your attention just quickly, to just September 29th of 2025, when we made when we were discussing who's going to join our task force and reviewing these people's resume in full deliberation. You were the one who calls for executive session for that reason, for that purpose, and for that reason, because we're going to be talking about people's resumes and personal things regarding our applicants. So I think it's interesting that all of a sudden that shifts all of a sudden here. So again, you were the one who called for the executive session at that point. It's the fact that the council president has is getting the much deserved deference in this, based on prior practice in her leadership position. But again, it's very interesting how our views and I would even say our values shift depending on the circumstance. I am very happy to say that for me, that doesn't happen. And that is why we're in the place that we're now. Life would be easy for me and President Porterfield if we just did what others do at this table, which is a rubber stamp and shift on our principles and values depending on whatever the way the mayor points his finger. But I'm not going to do that. And I don't do that. And that's why we're in the position now. And that's why just weeks ago, you called for an executive session because we're talking about reviewing people's resumes and talking about personal things. But now, all of a sudden, there's an issue with it. I find that very interesting.
I think there's
Please.
I think there's a difference between, first of all, I don't remember that, but also I think there's, but I trust that
Okay,
you did your
yeah.
research.
Yeah, I'm not-
But I will say, I think there's a difference between people that we were selecting to be on a housing task force and people who are going to be sitting on the city council. I mean, my number one thing, and I did mention this to Ms. Porterfield before I went away, I believe we had a phone conversation, if not a personal conversation, where I expressed my opinions about what I thought should happen in terms of this appointment of the new city council person and that we should be waiting until next year. I think I brought up that in previous elections, there have been that opportunity where, and I think that what you said to me was that it was a short period of time. For example, it wasn't a whole year until the next election. So I do recall that we had that conversation. But I think that these are really, I mean, the housing task force, I'm not discounting the housing task force. I don't want to be saying it's not important, but I do want to be saying that I do think someone representing the city on city council, it should be done in an open session. And I think you and Ms. Porterfield and I talked after the meeting last night, and she did express to me that she felt that personal information was going to be shared, and that's why she wanted to do it in executive session. And we even discussed that someone did actually on their own mention their age, which was obviously personal. But, you know, basically I think that, well, that's all I have to say about that. I also just want to add, because I should have said it earlier, that I think the fact that the mayor was asked to leave is really inappropriate. I mean, I don't know why he couldn't have sat here, even if he didn't participate in the discussion. The fact that the mayor of the city was asked to not be a part of these discussions, I really didn't agree with.
So
I can speak to that. This is a council decision. It's very clear in the city charter. This is a council decision. The mayor is not a member of the council. And as I said before, I've been through this process before. The mayor was not present. And even at that time, the corporation council was not present. Mr. Budavian can attest to that. So, but you know, we are holding up and as I said, we're going to open this for public discussion after we do our interviews, but we have kept people waiting already. So after this, we can certainly go on all night long if you like with these discussions, because I have brought information dating back to 2010, because I took the time and effort to make sure I looked at what was done before moving forward. So it's not just some random thing that I did, like, oh, let me do this. It's not how I operate. So I will bring that information forward to all of you. We're going to be going to executive session, and we can have any discussion afterwards. We've kept people waiting way too long.
okay, so
Just one last question, please.
hold on, I'll
Yeah.
definitely recommend. What I will say in response to Ms. Patrick, I think is a very clear distinction of the roles and responsibility to assigning someone to a task force and someone to city council. However, your reasoning for entering executive session was based on reviewing people's resumes and discussing personal information. So what I'm saying is that in that context, that part of it hasn't changed. So I would just appreciate if we would stop moving the goalposts, whether I think it should be here or there. Let's stop moving the goalposts every time that something doesn't align with what we want it to be. Mr. Toro.
Please don't quote me on the time or the date or what day it was in, but I think you actually were in agreement in a Times Union article about having the interviews held publicly, not in executive session.
So
These injuries?
Pardon me?
Yeah.
These?
Yeah, in October.
you're wrong.
I'm wrong. Okay, my mistake.
So again, when you're saying things without
No, that's what I'm
appropriate
just going
context,
to,
you know,
right.
again, and the truth without context, you know, sometimes can, you know, omitting certain things is a way that to kind of manipulate things and make them see it a different way. So that's why I was really clear about what, you know, I was talking about, really clear to be able to demonstrate that.
Right.
Okay, Madam President.
My motion is to go into executive session.
Can I make,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Executive session.
So,
why are we at the table? Why are we even at the table for this or the budget discussion?
as I said, we're gonna have a work session. And so members of the public, excluding city, obviously city council members and our corporation council will have to now leave. We'll call you in for your interview.
concluded our interviews. Madam President?
And as Ms. Barash has said, her recommendation is that we deliberate in public. And right now, we're in a committee meeting, so the deliberation has to be of the full council. So we cannot do that here because this is not, the full council is here, however, this is a committee meeting. So we need to call a special council meeting in order to do that. Okay? I know that Mr. Rivera had asked everyone their availability, and Friday was the day that people were available. So if people are still available on that day, we can then have Friday as a day to also deliberate and call a special committee meeting for that. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
So I thought Friday was gonna be a budget meeting, but is it gonna be instead we'll do, I mean, I'm available either way, I just was wondering.
Yeah, we can make room for that. It's, all the members are available Friday. So we can put the budget meeting. Do we need to do a little early?
I don't know if everybody can be, I mean.
I'm flexible.
It's up to people that are available.
I think some folks are working.
Mr. Turner?
Yes, thank you. I think, email Mr. Motivaren that I was leaving by, when I say leaving 8:30. 8:30. I need to be somewhere very early the next morning.
That sounds good.
Yeah, so that only gives us 3 hours.
Well,
Unless we come earlier.
well, I think what we just heard that earlier is for people that work with, that don't have a flexible work schedule.
Yes.
Because I know you work. That's not possible, but it is, you know, we sat for hours listening to the various candidates came forward. So my recommendation is that we, our own individually narrow down.
I'm sorry.
My recommendation is that we take the time between now and Friday, make a decision and bring recommendations. Bring recommendations of who, you know, the candidates that we would like to bring forward. And I don't expect everybody to narrow it down to one, so, you know, we can have some discussion of how many do we narrow it down to. But I don't know if starting at 17, trying to, you know, narrow ourselves down. And we can talk a little bit right now about what we want to do in consideration of narrowing it down. What are we going to be looking at? So I think that we should take some time to have that conversation so that we can all be able to have a little consistency on what we're talking about.
So I'm sorry, I'm actually not feeling so great
You
tonight.
have what?
Not feeling so great tonight. So I just
me
wonder,
either.
can you just tell me again, so why we can't do it tonight?
Because we are in a committee meeting. All right, this has to be done in a meeting that's called of the full council.
Okay.
And this currently tonight is a committee meeting. And so, and we got all this information from the what's it, open government, the committee on open government, Mr. The gentleman was able to send us some information, so I looked a little bit further, so we have to actually call a full council in order to do that, so that everyone can deliberate and give their input.
Okay, so then we all can come with and list, narrow down a list, and then deliberate at the special council meeting on Friday.
Right.
Okay,
So since we didn't, I mean, let me just say a little bit more about this. Since there's been so many questions regarding it. Giving you a little history of what happened in 2010, there was an appointment of Carl Erickson to the city council. And there was no evidence of what we're doing now happening. It was just said that, you know, his name was brought forward and that then there was an appointment and that was said as a council meeting. In 2012, there was, as was said to us by one of the people that came tonight, that there was a, interview process. There's no record of how that interview process happened. If it was an executive session, there's no record of it that I could find written anywhere. So, and then in 2014, there was another appointment to the city council. And even though that shows up on an agenda, a committee agenda, there's no level of discussion at the committee meeting. It simply passed through. I don't know how they came to that decision. Taking all of that into consideration, looking at whether it was on the agenda or not, the committee agendas, looking at actual videos of when it happened. And this the last person that was appointed, they signed the book in February. They were at a March meeting, and then later on, they were actually sworn in. So March 3rd, they were at a meeting, I saw them sitting at the table, and then the next week, they were actually sworn in the council meeting. So it's been done various ways. And not my understanding, the fact is, some of that was done through the committee having brought forward that person. And I don't mean this committee, and I don't mean the city council committee. So the committee, the Democratic committee, brought the person forward. And that's how the last person that was seated got seated. It was not done just simply through the city council. But as I said before, the charter clearly states this is a city council. It's up to us to appoint someone. So having no clear guidance, because it's been done so many various ways, I really worked hard to try to make it the most fair way possible for all parties involved and to see how we move forward with getting this done. So that's, if you have specific questions, I can answer them. But again, like I said, I spent hours looking at videos, pulling old resolutions, pulling old agendas. One resolution, quite frankly, wasn't even stamped by a person there was a person that talks about their appointment, but the resolution wasn't even stamped. Another resolution doesn't have a number. So we can't unring the bell, but again, I was trying to, just look at what we've done prior and how we could do moving forward so that everyone can be involved in the process, as opposed to someone being presented to us, our name being presented to us and just moving forward.
I think in your comments, what you highlighted is that this process has been iterative, and over the years, it has continued to develop beyond how it was previously done, which is people in a room and then they come out with me. So I truly respect the comment that there is no perfect system. All we can do is be perfect in our journey. And I believe if we just continue to learn from past practice with the expectations of just improving and nudging things slightly further, I think that is what it's done. I was trying to go back in my head of how to comment on this next part. I don't think this is the moment appropriate to this discussion to give you your flowers, but I think we've highlighted is your intentionality to doing the research, and that is what is going to be one of the things most missed. What I wanted to share also is providing just some context in the things that I looked at. In interviews, you kind of have just categories, so I wanted to share some categories that I highlighted. Kind of using that in the personal review of the applicants. I had a relevant experience, communication skills, problem-solving abilities. Kind of technology. Problem-solving abilities, collaboration skills, community engagement, and I had a flex category as total package, which just encompassed everything. I want to make sure we're being considerate of the time and effort that a lot of these interviews went into in their preparation. Very much this was something that is not an easy decision. Just sit amongst your peers and individuals in your community and almost be just graded and scrutinized. So I would recommend that we just identify in those categories just strengths and weaknesses. Just understand just the language that we use can either build someone up or tear them down. But I think at the end of the day, I appreciate everyone for taking the opportunity to put themselves forward, and that should not be underscored. Thank you so much.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Are we gonna think at all about, do we need to have background checks or anything like that? You know, if folks have unpaid taxes or, you know, what are we, and I like what Mr. Williams just said. I mean, we might want to have, some sort of, like an evaluation sheet or some sort of like scoring, what, you know, in terms of like categories that Mr. Williams just mentioned. I mean, maybe it might be interesting to have some sort of, form that talks to some of those categories or whatever, you know, so that when we have the discussion.
Madam President.
So I agree with that as well, excuse me, and using those categories. And other people have more, I think, thank you, Mr. Williams, for that you've offered, you know, some really good categories, some that obviously all of us have to, I think, experience, and not just as a city council member, that's not what I mean.
Yeah.
But, you know, because I don't think any of us sitting here had experience as city council member before.
I was thinking that
So
earlier.
that's not it.
Yeah.
But experience just in different
Yes.
parts of their lives.
Mhm.
And definitely communication, problem solving, if you not right now, but give that list again, I think that's important. And then we are all consistently looking at that. And then we, you know, come together and, you know, and have our deliberations. I noticed that, Mr. Toro had like some spreadsheet for people.
Yeah.
So.
I missed that. I've been like kind of peering across the table.
And little.
So, I don't know, do we want to, create a spreadsheet?
May I see one just to see
I'll
what it
give you
looks like?
Mr. Wallace's because he didn't.
But I definitely think that, when I sit here and I send out an email and I ask people, I told people specifically, we can't ask these particular questions. And also that we should ask people all the same questions. I think that's only fair to randomly ask questions based on who you know a person is and what you know about them would have been an unfair process. I think we stuck to that pretty well, but people, it was consistent with the questions. And that way, you know, people talk outside of this room. And we don't want one person saying to another, like, oh, they didn't ask me that. So I think it's good that you asked, as Mr. Williams asked, that you asked everybody the same question, so people didn't feel like they were either kind of dismissed or they were given a better advantage over it. So that is.
That's an interesting model. It is, she actually has what she's called a scoring sheet, and it's broken down by categories. That was pretty. It might be.
Have children.
You mean to make it? Yes, but I mean that might be something to share with the rest of
I
us.
tell them what I want.
Share the blank one with the rest of us, because it sort of expands on what Mr. Williams was.
So I would say that we share that information with Ms. Michael as soon as possible. And with some level of deference to Council President. And then when we convene, we make a best informed decision that we can. No.
So, Mr. Williams gave us his categories, if we just go over them again, sure, quickly, I mean, not quickly, like slowly, is what I really, but I mean, so we can hear.
So,
You can have them.
I had relevant experience, and that included management, leadership, public service, budgeting.
Okay.
I had communication skills, that was something I assessed during the interview, and I had that as a weighted category. I had problem solving abilities, that was something I assessed during the interview. Collaboration skills, which was weighted on their resume. Community engagement, and then total package, which was assessed during the interview. And then I had a scale of yes, which I allotted 2 points for, some, which I allotted 1 point, and no, which was 0 points. And then for the weighted categories, that individual got an additional 1 point if it was a yes.
Mr. Williams, we're gonna have an email that.
Yes, absolutely.
I think, and Mr. Toro should have emailed that as well. It's very.
Ms. Michael, I'm looking at you, Ms. Michael, if you can then make sure the entire council gets it. And then we can be prepared for our meeting on Friday.
That
Just a couple of, no. Clearly, kind of stay back. I just want to go back a little bit to 2014 when I was here.
Okay.
When we appointed the last person,
Mhm.
it was nothing like this. that person was not afforded an opportunity, or other people were afforded an opportunity to interview. That recommendation came from the party to members of the city council, that this is our choice, and you're gonna support this individual. And that's what we went with in 2014. So no interview, recommendation from the party, and we had to move on that. And I know that there was a hold up for several weeks because some of us were not comfortable about the process. But here we are today versus 2014, where no one was given an opportunity except for one individual. This is our choice, appointed. We went through and we did that appointment. And that person just, we vote on the person signed the book, and that's it, done. The person had a seat, and the person joined us at the tables. So I just want to, bring that up because sometimes we talk about present day, but we also sometimes we need to go back and a little bit of history to what happened 2010, around that time, all the way up to the last appointment. So to say it's not done fair today, then what happened in 2020? What happened in 2014? And these things we need to address. We can't just turn a blind eye on it. And if it was good then why it's not good now? We should have changed the process from 2010. When that was another selection, the council had no opportunity. In 2012, I went through the interview process, and that was pretty much, everybody was given an opportunity. The council, Mr. Riggy was here, and he interviewed us, and I think it was a closed door meeting. It wasn't open to the public. And a selection was made by the council, and then moved forward with the appointment. So I wanted to, highlight those things, and I'm in agreement that we can move forward and come up with a score sheet. I'm able to identify an individual who we think can join us here, and somebody who can help us along the end of this year into next year. Because we as a council, we should be serious about filling the seats in and to be able to have an opportunity for people to dialogue at the table and to make firm decision for our residents. Leave it open, serve no purpose. We need to be serious with what we did. A couple years ago, we left it. It was left. It was left unfilled because we can't come up with an agreement. We were pressure from all over not to fill the seat. The council didn't want to, we were not coming up. We were not having the 4 votes. It was split, and that's why those seats was left vacant a few years ago. So all those things needs to be addressed, and we can't just say, well, it didn't happen, but we're not explaining why it didn't happen. So I'm in agreement with the score sheet. We can combine the two kind of categories from Mr. Williams and Mr. Toro, and we can able to come up with a reasonable amount of categories. We don't want to elaborate 4 or 5 pages. It should be short and simple. And I think we had a good opportunity to listen to all the candidates. There's very good candidates, every one of them. But we have a decision to make to select one out of the many good people who came before us to present themselves and to show concern about many things. And many of them have addressed the many concerns that we have as members here. So let's take that into consideration. Let's create this sheet, let's score, let's move forward and fill this vacancy.
Thank you, Mr. Motiveri, as well as Madam President, for giving us some of the historical kind of view lens of what's prior practices. I don't think that it's lost on anyone that some of the quote unquote secret handshakes and backroom meetings of 1 or 2 people is how things have operated in the past. And I think that every time that you try to make things more inclusive and more process orientated, those who are in positions of power feel that that something is being taken away from them, not recognizing that that wasn't their the authority given in their position to begin with. So equity always feels like oppression to the privileged. And I think that's what we kind of are experiencing here through some of this process tonight. With that, I'll set the motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Got that on one. Sit there. And good night, an early night,
Time is it?
8:10. Not early enough. I'm not making it all day long. And even like.
It is cold in here.
It is cold. Thanks, all right.
Should I be-
Good night.